It's a big battle that's brewing between lenders and promoters. GT's Manoj Sirodkar fights back, opposes lenders' move to attach the pledged shares.
Maruti Suzuki ups the game, unveils a spruced up Swift to retain the #1 spot in the hatchback space, but also increase production of the Swift by 5,000 from November.
Good evening, you're with Business Tonight on ET Now. I'm Shaili Chopra.
I'm Sandeep Gurumurthy. Today big breaking news, but also on the show some lighter stuff. It's not just about glitz and glamour. The Lakme Fashion Week looks to do some serious business despite the slowdown. A report up ahead on the show.
And now you can actually make a choice between a tablet and a smartphone. Tablets are getting super cheap.
Our top story tonight, the Anna Hazare story continues to snowball. The civil rights activist says he'll continue to fast tonight in Tihar jail, even as tens of thousands of supporters gather at India Gate in New Delhi and various parts across the country, including Mumbai, Chennai and Bangalore.
That's right. Prime Minister Manmohan Singh today defended the government's action and said Anna Hazare's hunger strike was totally misconceived. Even as we show you pictures of Baba Ramdev, Sri Ravi Shankar and Kiran Bedi, part of those protests, the Delhi police has agreed to give 15 days for the fast, but Anna Hazare is adamant. He wants an unconditional approval from the police and the government for his protest in Delhi. Are Anna's actions justified? And is the economy suffering? That's our big story tonight.
The government wishes to stress that the issue before the nation is not whether the Lokpal bill is necessary or desirable. All of us in this House are agreed that the Lokpal bill must be passed as early as possible. The question is who drafts the law and who makes the law. In the process of adoption of the bill, there will be opportunity for Shri Anna Hazare and others to present their views to the standing committee to which the bill has been referred by the Honourable Speaker. The standing committee as well as Parliament can modify the bill if they so desire. However, I am not aware of any constitutional philosophy or principle that allows anyone to question the sole prerogative of Parliament to make a law. Shri Anna Hazare questioned these principles and claimed the right to impose his Jan Lokpal bill upon Parliament. I acknowledge that Shri Anna Hazare may be inspired by high ideals in his campaign to set up a strong and effective Lokpal. However, the path that he has chosen to impose his draft of a bill upon Parliament is totally misconceived and fraught with grave consequences for our parliamentary democracy. Those who believe that their voice alone represents the will of 1.2 billion people should reflect deeply on that position. They must allow the elected representatives of the people in Parliament to do the job that they were elected.
That's the Prime Minister justifying the crackdown. But the big question we're asking on Business Tonight is Anna Hazare holding the government and the nation to ransom, or is there a much needed wake-up call for the government and for this country? We've got three special guests joining us on the show. Sanjeev Aga, corporate commentator. We've got Captain Gopinath, who needs no introduction, and Dilip Padgaonkar, consulting editor of Times of India. Mr. Aga, I'll start with you first. The fact of the matter is for 2 days this nation has been, in a sense, left with nothing to talk about but Anna Hazare. This campaign, even though it's had a huge impact, but at the end of the day, what is it all about? Don't you think one individual, in a sense, is holding the nation and its democratic institutions to ransom?
Well, there are two different questions. Democratic institutions to ransom, perhaps yes. Nation, perhaps no. When you're looking at democratic institutions, you need to just unpeel. When you talk of things like Parliament and Constitution, you evoke imageries of Thomas Jefferson and Rajendra Prasad and Bhimrao Ambedkar and Jawaharlal Nehru. But it is a fact. Most people would admit that the majority of, or not the majority, a very large number of parliamentarians and legislators today would not pass the minimum test of financial rectitude.
Right.
And therefore, what is this democratic institution that you're making such a big deal about?
But that's what has worked all these years, hasn't it?
Has it? I don't know. I think we could have done much better. And in any case, you've got to look ahead. It
You
probably
think the government
has.
has failed, Mr. Aga?
I think over 60 years, the institutions have been declining. It hasn't failed. If you take a 60-year view, the answer is no. But over the last, there is a decline. And I think the country needs, these institutions need to reform themselves. The reform should be from within them. It should not require an Anna Hazare. But we haven't seen that happening.
Right.
In fact, normally the political parties, some of our principal party has such high idealism in its origins. People like Gandhi and Nehru and Tagore and Bose. And there should be a degree of churn from within the party to throw up new ideas, or the Bharatiya Janata Party or many others, and I'm afraid that's not happening.
Fair point. These democratic institutions need to be, shaken up, so to say Sanjeev Aga. But Captain Gopinath, the fact of the matter is that is this the right way to protest? That's the big question. The issue is Lokpal Bill. The government has agreed to have a Lokpal Bill. It is going to be tabled. There is a standing committee that's looking into it. There are some, minor issues that, should the PM be included or not? Okay, it's not a minor issue, but, you can talk your way out of this to fast until that, to create a scene. Is this the right way to protest? What is your view?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think the paradox of all this is that it was the Congress party through leaders like Mahatma Gandhi and Nehru who gave us and the world the gift of civil disobedience and ahimsa and satyagraha, and they were the ones who taught us and taught the rest of the world that how do you protest non-violently. And so it is such a paradox now that the very same Congress party is restricting those freedom and shying away from that. And so what is Anna Hazare is not calling for a bandh like these political parties across various political parties. They are calling for a bandh every second day. Look at West Bengal, how many days we lost in Andhra Pradesh, in even Karnataka also, for example. We have been losing days and days on bandhs.
Whether you call for a bandh or whether you call for protest, now it has to have an objective. Will it be able to meet the objective?
Yeah.
Do you think Anna Hazare, while he might have the numbers, will he be able to put out a solution in front? We don't seem to have a solution coming. We do have protests.
I mean, that is a job. I mean, that is the job of the public to put pressure on the elected representatives when the elected representatives are not listening. And I think it's very obvious to all of us that the various institutions and the elected representatives, though I think the worst democracy is better than communism, I think there's a very famous saying among a people who are generally corrupt, liberty cannot long exist. So the whole social fabric may tear apart if the existing state of divide which has been caused because of corruption. I think the root of all our problems today, I think across all institutions, you take public distribution, you take your roads, you take your health, you take your education, everything is steeped in corruption because the money is not going where it is supposed to go. Even Rajiv Gandhi, their own leader, said, only 20 paise out of 1 rupee goes to the intended beneficiaries. And even I think last month, there was a report put out that the public distribution of your Food Corporation of India and various other, agencies which are now in the job of public distribution, more than 60% is, going into the pockets of middlemen. Right. And those middlemen are all politicians and even petty merchants and business people. So therefore, Anna Hazare is basically protesting. I think his first demand is now he wants to have a right to protest. How can you deny someone a right to protest?
How can you deny someone a right to protest? Okay, Captain Gopinath, hang in there. I want to get a word in from Dilip Padgaonkar as well. Dilip Padgaonkar, do you think the government has messed this up completely? First they arrest him, then they say they want to release him. Now he says he doesn't want to get released. What's going on? Has the government really messed this up? Is the government cornered on this?
What you have is a strange situation. You have political parties backing Anna Hazare, backing him to the hilt, but they aren't saying whether they go along completely with his version of the bill. Let that be clear. And the way to make that clear is through a debate an exhaustive debate, a comprehensive debate inside the House.
You know, again, we're talking about a comprehensive debate, and I suppose the whole Anna Hazare story has come to fore because there's been a huge lack of that debate in the first place. Let's get down to some tough questions. Captain Gopinath, should the Prime Minister give up his position? Is it time for the Prime Minister to realize that, yes, he has lost credibility, and would you go to that mile to say so?
I think, you know, the writing is on the wall. I think you should be blind and deaf not to see it. I think throughout history, people who are in power, I think generally become opaque in their vision, and I think they don't even realize it. And they're not seeing, you know, one of the job of the people in power or leaders is to feel the pulse of the nation. And I think all of us are responsible for this. People of my generation, we have all been, in a way, we have colluded, we have looked the other way, we have been beneficiaries, we have been victims, and most of us have you know, gone along with the system. You know, whether at the lower level or mid-level, or, you know, somebody wants to register a house, you don't bat an eyelid before bribing him some money to reduce your registration fees. So corruption has become rampant now, and we are fortunate that someone like Anna Hazare has come and as a crusader. But I think what is the problem here is the government is feeling caged, they are feeling defensive. They no need to be. It is not Anna Hazare is not asking the government to step down. It's not an attack against the ruling party. It is not against attacking the UPA or the Congress. It is against the existing system. He wants a systemic change, and the nation is risen with a common heartbeat. He has already said very clearly, political parties, whichever political party which has been in power, have been corrupt. And successive governments have been corrupt more than the previous government. So he's not attacking Congress per se or
Fair
UPA
point,
per se.
Captain Gopinath. I want to get in Sanjeev Aga here. The government is being needlessly defensive, says Captain Gopinath. It's a fair point. Do you think at one level that the government, you know, in a sense is doing all this because it doesn't want to tackle the menace of corruption? Do you think that's the problem, really?
You asked a very direct question, and you know, no one would like to answer it. But I think, let me put it differently. I'm rephrasing your question. The number one ombudsman of the country is the chief executive. It is not the Lokpal. The country looks upon the Prime Minister to have a sense of right and wrong and to show the way in these matters. I don't want to be harsh on a particular dispensation and a particular Prime Minister, because over the last 2 decades, that sense of right and wrong has been missing. So I would not like to look at it as an individual weakness, but certainly had that been there.
But why not as an individual weakness? I mean, the question is today everybody talks about, yes, this Prime Minister is aware of what's been going on in the 2G scam. Why is the Prime Minister quiet? Isn't that the question everyone wants to raise?
I'm just looking at it from a human point of view. I'm looking at it as what kinds of pressures play on people, under what situations. But I agree with you that, you know, the country needs to be less forgiving and needs to demand more of everyone.
Is it hurting our business image, Mr. Aga? As a corporate, do you feel that in many ways today India, which was supposed to be the already emerged power, as Obama put it, on our very own land, is now shaking?
Let me, again, I think what is happening, although it might be temporarily upsetting, may actually lead to a more honest political system, which would, in the long run, accelerate the growth rate and lead to a better distribution of growth. The better corporates and the better individuals will do relatively better compared to the not so deserving. So I hope within this turmoil and within this you know, difficult times we are going through, there might be a silver lining to the black clouds.
Right. What is the signal that we are sending to foreign investors? What are the signals that we are sending to international community? That's the point that Shaili brought up as well. Let's get in a word from Dilip Padgankar. Dilip Padgankar, what do you think? Are we sending a signal of us being a nation in complete unrest, of this being a banana republic?
India's democracy is maturing, and this is a process of maturing. This is a process where issues which stymie economic growth are in the forefront, and surely corruption is one of them. And the fact that the entire civil society of this country and the political class is engaged in this debate, no matter how raucous it is, no matter how chaotic it is a good sign. It is a sign of a maturing democracy.
It's a sign of a maturing democracy, says Dilip Padgankar. Captain Gopinath, you want to comment on that? The fact is, no matter what you say, we've had corruption for the last 20 years. I mean, some of the ministers that we're talking about today have been in power for a while now. And this government has, in a sense, taken action. You have a telecom minister who's behind